Good evening, our viewers. Welcome back to our program in which we look at social, economic, and political issues in Zimbabwe. But firstly, we will start with the final chapter of the book Social Justice and Food Security. With me here, as usual, is Director Fuma. And we are concluding this book, Social Justice and Food Security.
Thank you, Elliot. Good evening, viewers. Good evening, Elliot. Good evening, everyone around and across the globe. We know that our global reach is increasing. Today, we're going to finish off looking at Elliot Pfebve's book, Social Justice and Food Security, a United Nations Global Challenge. It's a book in which it touches on the issue of social justice, food security, and especially climate change. And we've seen how in recent months there's been an attempt by the United States President Donald Trump to sort of portray climate change as alternative facts or as fake news. And so we are also against the disrespect which is being shown towards scientific research and development, which has brought about a lot of good for humanity. And so we need to start speaking out. And today we look at Chapter 5. Chapter 5 is entitled The Sustainability Perspective. Elliot, what is the sustainability perspective?
Yes, Derek, and all our viewers. The sustainability perspective here, I was looking at what are those factors. Firstly, to define what sustainability is. And here, I think, let me also start by just defining what sustainability is. We are looking at whether the human actions in pursuit of needs and wants are sustainable, not necessarily in the short term, but in the long term. So here we are looking at very specific, although from this book, Social Justice and Food Security, we are looking at the availability of food and our actions as human beings in pursuit of producing food, whether we are not doing harm to the environment, which can inadvertently affect the long-term sustainability of food, the availability of food, both within our generations and the generations to come. So yes, that's in terms of, in summary, what it is I was talking about. But then I looked at not necessarily only in terms of food. I'm also looking at in terms of energy, whether it is sustainable. I also looked at the population. I think at the beginning of this book, we also looked at the exponential of population growth as we go to 2025, which the population of the world is expected to be 8.5 billion from about 7.1, 7.2 billion today. So we are looking at, yes, we are adding about 1.5 billion, and at the moment, already we've got millions of people who go hungry every day. So we are saying, is the world ready for another billion people? And are our governments doing enough in terms of policy formulation to make sure that there is availability of food and equal distribution of resources? So yes, in that way, that's what I was looking at. And I also looked at a bit about the Zimbabwean scenario, from a bread basket to a basket case, due to the shambolic land reform that was spearheaded by the current regime of Robert Mugabe and ZANU-PF. And in there also at the end of the same chapter, I did bring in two keynote addresses by well-known politicians. One by Ban Ki-moon, and then the other one by Robert Mugabe. The Ban Ki-moon one was from the Rio de Janeiro 2012, in which the UN came up with three what we call voluntary commitments to save the environment. And then there is also a keynote address that was addressed by Robert Mugabe on the 2nd September of 2012 in Joburg, where Mugabe, as usual, was putting across his rhetoric that land is the economy and the economy is the land. And then in the same keynote, he also accepted that there was shortage of food in Zimbabwe in a way, but was blaming all that to the Western world. So it was to draw up the sort of a contrast in terms of policy formulation, in terms of but the governments, whether they are contributing to sort of the food shortage, social injustice in the world, and also relating to Zimbabwe, bringing in the Zimbabwe scenario so that people who are reading, they've got the perspective of various countries' initiatives, and Zimbabwe was a very good example for that, that the absence of coherent policies within governments, respective governments, can unsettle a region, and Zimbabwe being one. So yes, Derek, in summary, this is what I was talking about in the sustainability perspective.